Welcome to the sterile, porcelain-tiled theatre of human insecurity, known as the modern American bathroom. We begin our somatic audit with Part 1, the bathroom trap, an investigation into a multi-billion-dollar matrix of chemical marketing designed to convince a perfectly functional biological organism that its natural state is an inherently filthy, diseased condition requiring constant corporate intervention. We start by dismantling myth number 1, the absolute, unwavering social dogma that you must stand under a stream of scalding water and scrub your entire anatomy with harsh detergents every single day to achieve true cleanliness. Since the mid-century suburban boom, the industrial soap lobby has trained the public to look at their own skin with profound suspicion, equating 24 hours of natural existence with toxic accumulation. Let us reintroduce basic evolutionary biology to the marketing board. Your skin is not a dirty countertop waiting to be bleached. It is a complex, self-regulating ecosystem, blanketed by a delicate protective layer known as the acid mantle, and inhabited by billions of beneficial microorganisms. When you subject this living shield to a daily chemical assault, you strip away the vital lipid barriers that lock in moisture and repel pathogens. The results are not hygienic, they are pathological. By overshowering, you leave your body vulnerable to chronic eczema, deep bacterial infections, and severe dryness, effectively forcing your oil glands into an overcompensating frenzy that makes you feel greasy within hours, perfectly ensuring that you return to the shower tub to repeat the profitable cycle of destruction. The corporate manufacturing of panic reaches an even higher peak of scientific absurdity when we examine the kitchen and bathroom counters to destroy myth number 2, the terrifying commercial assertion that antibacterial soap is significantly safer and vastly more effective at preventing infectious diseases than standard ordinary soap. For decades, advertisements featured clinical-looking graphics of glowing green cartoon monsters being vaporized by special chemical additives, terrifying mothers into believing that standard washing left their children exposed to invisible killers. Let us look at the official regulatory ledger. In the late 20-teens, the Food and Drug Administration finally stepped into the laboratory to confirm what microbiologists had known for generations. Antibacterial soaps providing absolutely zero extra benefit in reducing sickness or removing bacteria compared to basic soap and water. The active chemical weapons utilized in these formulas, most notably triclosan and triclocarban, do not keep your home sterile. Instead, they flow down your drain to pollute municipal water systems and, far more ominously, linger on your skin just long enough to kill off weak bacteria while allowing the strongest, most resilient pathogens to survive, mutate, and evolve into deadly, drug-resistant superbugs that laugh at modern antibiotics. You have not protected your family, you have simply turned your domestic sink into a microscopic training camp for the next global pandemic. This brings us straight from the chemical fluid to the physical tools of the tub, dragging into the light the porous horrors of myth number 3, the comforting illusion that utilizing a colorful plastic loofah or a mesh shower puff is the most hygienic, effective way to exfoliate dead cells and lather your skin into a state of purity. The modern consumer treats the loofah like a faithful cleansing companion, hanging it proudly from the showerhead to dry until the next morning. Let us examine the actual microclimate of your bathing enclosure. A porous, synthetic mesh bundle saturated with dead human skin cells, trapped body oils, and residual moisture left hanging in a dark, warm, and hyper-humid bathroom is not a tool of hygiene. It is a highly optimized, industrial-grade breeding ground for hazardous molds and virulent strains of Staphylococcus bacteria. Every time you rub that damp puff across your warm skin, you are not removing impurities. You are actively wiping a concentrated culture of microscopic organisms back into your open pores and fresh microabrasions, transforming a simple morning wash into an aggressive act of self-contamination. The sensory deception of this routine becomes complete when we analyze the physical feedback of the wash, shattering the chemical magic of myth number 4. The deeply ingrained belief that a tight, squeaky clean feeling on your skin is the definitive proof that your soap is working flawlessly and your pores have been rendered perfectly healthy. We have been conditioned to rub our fingers across our wet shoulders, listen for that high-pitched friction sound, and smile with consumer satisfaction. In the cold reality of cosmetic chemistry, that squeak is not the sound of cleanliness. It is the sound of a biological emergency. It is the friction of raw tissue crying out because aggressive, industrial-strength surfactants, like sodium lauryl sulfate, have completely dissolved your skin's natural protective oils and shattered the cellular cement of your stratum corneum. The soap has not cleaned your pores. It has completely stripped away your natural defense grid, leaving your skin raw, dehydrated, and entirely naked against the harsh atmospheric elements of the outside world. An identical corporate exploit occurs at the vanity mirror, leading us directly to the dangerous legal loopholes of myth number 5. The ubiquitous, cross-generational assumption that cotton swabs, universally known by their commercial moniker, Q-tips, are explicitly designed and medically recommended for cleaning deep inside your delicate ear canals. For nearly a century, packaging imagery and cultural habits have silently encouraged consumers to insert these little wooden sticks deep into their heads to extract ordinary earwax. Let us expose the cynical legal choreography behind this product. On the back of every box, written in tiny legal boilerplate, the manufacturer explicitly warns you never to insert the swab into the ear canal. They know with absolute certainty that the human ear possesses a highly advanced, automated self-cleaning mechanism, driven by microscopic cilia that naturally migrate wax outward. When you push that cotton tip into your ear, you act as a human piston, overriding the natural biology to jam the sticky wax deeper against the tympanic membrane. This corporate-sanctioned habit routinely results in severe impactions, chronic hearing loss, agonizing inner ear infections, and thousands of emergency room visits for ruptured eardrums, proving that the product's true function is to create a perpetual market for specialized medical interventions. Finally, we decode the modern obsession with instant purity to expose the chemical limitations of myth number 6. The widespread post-pandemic belief that pocket-sized hand sanitizers and alcohol-based gels can completely and effectively replace the old-fashioned necessity of soap and water in our daily lives. The modern citizen squeezes a clear drop of gel onto their palm, rubs their hands together, and walks away with a comforting, completely false sense of absolute sterility. Let us examine the strict boundaries of alcohol biochemistry. Hand sanitizers work exclusively by neutralizing certain cell walls, but they possess absolutely zero mechanical cleaning capability. They do not remove heavy metals from your fingers, they cannot dissolve agricultural pesticides on your hands, and, most terrifyingly, they are completely powerless against highly contagious, non-enveloped gastrointestinal viruses like norovirus or bacterial spores like C. diff. By relying on a tiny squirt of scented alcohol, you are merely varnishing the dirt onto your skin, creating a warm, chemical laminate that seals in toxic residues while providing a dangerous psychological illusion of safety that leaves your digestive system exposed to the next passing stomach bug. We move our somatic investigation from the shower stall directly to the bathroom sink for part 2, the dental illusion, an examination of a highly profitable oral theatre where multi-billion-dollar consumer conglomerates have transformed the basic biological maintenance of the human mouth into an aggressive, self-destructive ritual of overconsumption. We open our dental audit by exposing the visual choreography of myth number 7, the deeply ingrained, automatic habit that you must squeeze a long, elegant and thick ribbon of toothpaste across the entire head of your toothbrush to clean your teeth properly. Every morning, you replicate the exact image you have seen on thousands of glossy cardboard boxes and televised commercials, creating a perfect, swooping wave of minty paste. Let us look behind the curtains of the marketing department to see the simple financial engineering driving this aesthetic choice. That generous swirl of toothpaste was not designed by dentists to improve your oral hygiene. It was invented by corporate ad agencies in the mid-20th century for the sole purpose of doubling global product consumption overnight. By training your eyes to accept nothing less than a full, bristled coating, they ensure you deplete your tube twice as fast and return to the supermarket twice as often. The cold biological reality is that your teeth require nothing more than a tiny pea-sized dot of paste to achieve maximum fluoridation and cleaning efficiency. Anything beyond that microscopic drop is completely non-functional, sliding down your porcelain drain as pure, unadulterated corporate profit disguised as refreshing foam. The manufacturing of this aesthetic perfection turns outright predatory when we examine the whitening aisle to dismantle myth number 8, the absolute commercial assurance that charcoal toothpaste and heavy whitening pastes are perfectly safe, non-destructive everyday tools required to achieve a healthy, blindingly bright celebrity smile. The packaging displays rugged chunks of natural carbon and promises to lift deep stains through raw, purifying power. Let us subject this cosmetic trend to the hard measurements of oral science. In dentistry, every toothpaste is graded on an official metric known as the Relative Dentin Abrasivity, or RDA scale. The corporate entities selling these trendy charcoal formulations are packing their pastes with massive concentrations of raw, jagged particulates that possess incredibly high RDA scores. They are not gently lifting stains from your teeth. They are quite literally acting as a high-powered industrial sandpaper. When you brush with these abrasive compounds every morning, you are permanently scrubbing away the microscopic crystal lattices of your protective tooth enamel. Because enamel cannot regenerate, this aggressive abrasion gradually wears the outer shield down to transparency, exposing the soft, inherently yellow dentin layer underneath. The devastating, ironic result is a smile that grows permanently darker, more sensitive, and structurally compromised, forcing you down a path of expensive, chronic cosmetic dental interventions to fix the damage you paid to inflict upon yourself. This mechanical violence is further accelerated by the physical tools we choose, dragging into the light the structural damage of myth number 9, the stubborn, old-fashioned belief that brushing your teeth with maximum physical force and using stiff, hard-bristled toothbrushes ensures a truly clean, plaque-free mouth. We approach the bathroom sink with a warrior's mindset, scrubbing our teeth with furious back-and-forth motions as if we are scouring a rusty iron skillet. Let us look at the delicate anatomy of the oral cavity. Plaque is a soft, gelatinous biofilm that requires minimal physical pressure to disrupt and displace. When you assault it with a rigid, hard-bristled brush, wielded with excessive manual force, you are not saving your teeth. You are actively destroying your support structures. This brutal friction acts as a blunt saw against your delicate gingival tissue, slicing into the margins and inducing permanent, irreversible gum recession. Once the gum line retreats, it exposes the highly vulnerable, unenameled root surfaces of your teeth, leaving them completely naked to rapid decay, painful thermal sensitivity, and structural instability. You are systematically destroying the very foundation of your mouth out of a manufactured obsession with scrubbed perfection. The chemical timing of our cleanliness is equally weaponized against us, leading us straight into the chemical traps of myth number 10. The deeply rationalized doctrine that you must brush your teeth immediately after consuming highly acidic foods, citrus fruits, or sour beverages to prevent cavities. You drink a fresh glass of orange juice or enjoy a salad with vinaigrette, and your immediate instinct is to rush to the sink to scrub away the residual acids before they can do harm. This is a profound, self-inflicted chemical error. When you consume highly acidic items, the low pH level temporarily demineralizes and softens the microscopic surface layer of your tooth enamel on contact. Your mouth naturally resolves this issue over the course of 30 minutes by using your saliva to wash away the acids, and slowly remineralize the enamel back to hardness. However, if you introduce a toothbrush and abrasive paste into the mouth during this brief window of vulnerability, you are not protecting your teeth. You are using mechanical friction to actively and permanently scrub your own softened enamel away. You are assisting the acid in its destructive work, transforming a minor, temporary pH dip into a permanent loss of structural tooth volume. This pharmaceutical misdirection expands outward when we look at the liquid options at the sink, shattering the biological illusions of myth number 11, the total acceptance that burning, alcohol-based mouthwashes are an essential daily tool required to sanitize your oral cavity, slaughter 99% of bad breath germs, and keep your gums pristine. You gargle a shot of bright green fluid, endure an agonizing, watery-eyed chemical burn, and spit it out believing you have achieved absolute medical sterility. Let us examine the microscopic aftermath of this scorched earth policy. The human mouth relies on a highly diverse, delicate microbiome filled with millions of beneficial bacteria that naturally regulate your breath and aid your digestion. When you flood this ecosystem with a high concentration of harsh industrial alcohol, you act as an indiscriminate bomber. The alcohol kills the good bacteria along with the bad, while severely drying out the mucous membranes of your oral cavity. Because a dry mouth lacks the protective enzymes of natural saliva, it creates a perfectly optimized, oxygen-depleted, highly acidic environment. Within hours of spitting out the wash, foul-smelling anaerobic bacteria multiply at a hyper-accelerated rate, leaving your breath significantly worse than it was before you rinsed. The corporation has sold you a liquid dependency that systematically creates the very bad breath it claims to cure. Finally, we invert the classic clinical misinterpretation to expose the internal sabotage of myth number 12, the widespread submissive belief that if your gums begin to bleed during your daily flossing routine, it is an absolute signal that your tissues are too fragile and that you should stop flossing immediately to let them heal. You see a drop of crimson in the sink, panic, and lock the floss away in the medicine cabinet. Let us correct this fundamental misunderstanding of human pathology. Healthy, properly maintained gum tissue does not bleed under the gentle pressure of nylon floss. If your gums bleed when you floss, it is not a sign of physical trauma from the string. It is a clear, definitive clinical indication of active chronic inflammation caused by the millions of toxic bacteria packed inside the plaque you have left trapped between your teeth for weeks. By withdrawing the floss and stopping the cleaning routine out of fear, you are providing those bacterial colonies with a permanent, uninterrupted sanctuary to feast on food debris and multiply. The minor inflammation rapidly deepens into severe periodontal disease, systematically dissolving the underlying jawbone and tooth sockets until your teeth loosen and fall out, a catastrophic failure born entirely from a corporate-induced fear of a little necessary friction. We step away from the porcelain sink and tilt our gaze upward toward the crowning glory of human vanity for Part 3, the hair and scalp deception, an anatomical tour through a multi-billion-dollar wilderness of synthetic botanical extracts, artificial fragrances, and calculated trichological illusions. The hair care industry has masterfully transformed the naturally self-cleaning filaments of the human head into an ongoing economic emergency. We begin our investigation by untangling the greasy paradox of myth number 13, the absolute unwavering cultural commandment that washing your hair daily with aggressive, high-sulfate shampoo is the mandatory cure for a greasy, oily scalp. You wake up, observe a distinct sheen at your roots, and immediately reach for a bottle of clarifying detergent, assuming your biology is simply defective. Let us analyze the hidden mechanics of this sebaceous feedback loop. Your scalp is naturally regulated by microscopic sebaceous glands that secrete a precise amount of sebum, a complex lipid mixture designed to lubricate, coat, and waterproof your hair shafts. When you flood your scalp every 24 hours with industrial surfactants like sodium lauryl sulfate, you do not clean your hair. you execute a violent chemical scorched earth policy. The glands detect this sudden, catastrophic depletion of moisture and interpret it as a biological crisis. To prevent your skin from cracking open, they go into a state of hyper-accelerated overcompensation, pumping out double the amount of natural oil to replace what you just stripped away. By scrubbing every morning, you are literally forcing your own body to become greasier by noon, trapping you in a perpetual, corporate-engineered cycle of dependency where you must continuously buy more shampoo to treat the exact oily condition that the shampoo itself is actively manufacturing. This cosmetic theatre grows significantly more manipulative when we inspect the gleaming promises of the product packaging, dismantling the structural fabrications of myth number 14, the extravagant commercial guarantee that luxury hair serums, split-end menders, and intensive deep conditioners can permanently repair, fuse, and heal damaged, frayed hair ends back into a single cohesive strand. The televised advertisements feature high-speed cameras showing split fibers magically closing up under a drop of exotic oil, charging premium prices for a bottle of fluid resurrection. Let us look through the lens of basic human anatomy at this structural impossibility. The hair projecting from your scalp is entirely dead tissue, composed of a non-living structural protein known as keratin. It possesses absolutely no living cells, no blood vessels, and zero capacity for cellular division or self-repair. It cannot heal any more than a piece of wool thread can heal itself once it is frayed. The expensive serums you buy do not repair the damage. They are merely formulated with heavy industrial silicones, such as dimethicone, which act as a temporary water-resistant adhesive glaze. The silicone coats the split fiber, sticking the frayed edges together and masking the damage under a slick, shiny film of artificial oil. This illusion of health lasts precisely until your next shower, where the detergent washes the silicone glue away, revealing the underlying structural ruin and forcing you to buy another bottle of cosmetic sealant when the only true, permanent cure for a split end is the mechanical snip of a pair of steel scissors. The manufacturing of scalp pathology becomes even more cynical when we look at the specialized medicine cabinet to destroy myth number 15, the absolute pharmaceutical assurance that commercial dandruff shampoos are specifically engineered to permanently heal, nourish, and eliminate a dry, flaking scalp. You observe a few white flakes on your dark jacket, panic at the social stigma, and immediately purchase a bright blue bottle of medicated wash. Let us expose the commercial trap hidden within this formula. True clinical dandruff is caused by an overgrowth of a specific oil-loving fungus called Malassezia. However, the vast majority of people experiencing a flaking scalp are actually suffering from simple, mundane dry skin, often caused by dry winter air or previous overwashing. When you apply a harsh, chemical-laden anti-dandruff shampoo containing aggressive active drying agents like zinc pyrithione or selenium sulfide to an already parched scalp, you do not heal it. Instead, you severely over-dry and chemically irritate the living epidermal layers. Your skin reacts to this chemical burning by accelerating its natural shedding process, generating a massive new wave of dead white flakes that look completely identical to the dandruff you are trying to cure. The corporation has built a perfect psychological trap. The product actively creates the very flakes you fear, convincing you that your condition is worsening and forcing you to buy the medicated shampoo indefinitely to suppress the irritation the bottle itself is causing. The superstition of the hair root extends to our manual grooming habits, leading us straight to the anatomical impossibilities of myth number 16, the cross-generational warning that plucking out a single stray grey hair from your scalp will cause 2 or 3 more grey hairs to aggressively grow back in its immediate place. We look in the mirror, spot a silver strand, and hesitate with our tweezers, terrified of unleashing a rapid, multiplying wave of aging across our heads. Let us examine the microscopic architecture of the human dermis. Hair growth is governed by entirely isolated, independent structural units known as hair follicles. Each individual follicle acts as a self-contained biological factory that can only produce a single hair shaft at a time from its own private root structure. The color of that hair is dictated exclusively by melanocyte cells at the base of that specific follicle, which slowly stop producing pigment as you age or experience genetic shifts. Plucking a grey hair out does absolutely nothing to alter the chemical or cellular reality of the completely separate follicles surrounding it. The strand will eventually grow back from that single follicle, and it will still be grey. However, the true danger of this myth is not multiplication, but destruction. When you forcefully rip a hair shaft out by its root, you cause severe mechanical trauma to the delicate follicular walls. If you repeat this act of vanity, you permanently scar the follicle, destroying its capacity to produce any hair at all, and leaving you with a localized spot of permanent baldness instead of a silver strand. The physics of temperature are equally manipulated by marketing law, bringing us to the thermal illusions of myth number 17, the deeply rationalized doctrine that performing a freezing, uncomfortable cold water rinse at the absolute end of your shower will physically close your hair cuticles, locking in moisture and making your hair significantly shinier. You stand in the tub, turn the dial to freezing, and endure a shocking blast of cold water out of a submissive belief that you are performing an act of advanced beauty science. This is a complete physiological misinterpretation. The outer layer of a hair shaft, known as the cuticle, is composed of dead, overlapping scales of keratin that resemble shingles on a roof. These structural proteins do not contain any muscles, nerve endings, or cellular mechanisms. They possess absolutely zero capacity to open, close, contract, or expand in response to shifts in temperature. The apparent smoothness or shine you might observe after a cold rinse has nothing to do with closing pores or cuticles. It is merely the basic physical reality that cold water fails to dissolve the residual fats, heavy silicones, and oily conditioners left behind by your products, causing them to harden flat against the hair shaft rather than rinsing clean away. You are not practicing biology, you are simply leaving a layer of cold, unrinsed chemical film on your head. Finally, we decode the ultimate brand loyalty trick of the beauty counter by unmasking myth number 18, the widespread consumer belief that you must constantly rotate your shampoo brands every few months because your hair somehow gets used to or becomes immune to the specific chemical formula, causing the product to stop working. You notice your favorite bottle no longer leaves your hair as bouncy as it did during the first week of use, so you abandon it to buy a completely different brand. This is an elaborate marketing trick explicitly engineered to drive continuous consumer exploration, constant retail novelty, and higher annual household spending. Your dead hair fibers cannot develop an immunity or build a psychological tolerance to a chemical detergent. What you are actually experiencing is the cumulative, heavy buildup of non-soluble silicones and conditioning polymers left behind by that specific shampoo over weeks of daily washing. This thick, synthetic laminate eventually coats the hair shaft, weighing it down and making it look dull and greasy. The solution is not to go shopping for a new brand. The solution is simply to perform a single wash with a basic, cheap, clarifying shampoo or a baking soda rinse to strip away the accumulated plastic residue, restoring your hair to its baseline state and exposing the rotating shampoo myth as a pure fabric of retail manipulation. We descend deeper into the biological underworld of human secretions for Part 4, the sweat and toxin fallacy, an unsparing analysis of a highly specialized sector of consumer chemistry where the basic mammalian survival mechanism of thermoregulation has been thoroughly pathologized, commodified, and weaponized against your comfort. The corporate masters of the cosmetic grid have achieved their greatest triumph by convincing you that the natural temperature control systems of your own flesh are a disgusting social emergency requiring permanent metallic sealants. We begin our somatic investigation by exposing the physiological blockades of myth number 19, the absolute cross-generational assurance that commercial antiperspirants are perfectly benign, harmless daily cosmetic tools designed to safely and cleanly stop your underarms from perspiring. Every single morning, millions of citizens mechanically glide a stick of fragrant white paste across their axillary vaults, celebrating the fact that they will remain bone dry through an arduous workday. Let us trace the microscopic wreckage of this chemical barrier. Antiperspirants do not dry your sweat through gentle evaporation. They rely on high concentrations of active aluminium-based metal complexes. The moment you apply this metallic paste, the aluminium compounds dissolve into the moisture of your skin, initiating a violent chemical reaction that physically forms a dense, gelatinous plug deep inside your delicate eccrine and apocrine sweat ducts. You are quite literally corking your own flesh from the inside out. By forcing these vital biological exit portals shut, you trap metabolic fluids and cellular debris inside the tissue, frequently inducing severe, localized sweat gland inflammation, agonizing cystic blockades, and a chronic inflammatory condition known as hidradenitis suppurativa. The corporation has successfully trained you to sacrifice your basic physical mechanics for the shallow, short-sighted comfort of a dry cotton sleeve. The industrial deception grows significantly more deceptive when we step into the holistic aisles of the health food store to smash the pseudo-organic illusions of myth number 20, the widely circulated, eco-conscious belief that natural deodorant crystal stones are completely chemical-free, pristine, and safe mineral alternatives to traditional commercial sticks. Consumers, fleeing the mainstream cosmetic giants, purchase these smooth, translucent rocks of potassium alum, rubbing them under their arms with a righteous sense of pure, non-toxic environmental stewardship. Let us subject this organic labeling to a cold review of elementary chemistry. The active ingredient dominating these holistic crystal stones is a mineral compound known officially as potassium aluminium sulfate. Let that middle word ring clearly in your mind. Despite the elaborate marketing narratives painting these crystals as ancient, volcanic, chemical-free remedies, they are structurally and functionally an aluminium salt. You have not escaped the chemical grid, you have merely allowed a clever, green-washed public relations campaign to sell you the exact same class of active metallic duct-blocking compounds under a different name. The corporation has simply wrapped the identical physical exploit in a pseudo-organic bow, proving that in the theatre of consumer capitalism, an eco-friendly label is often just a highly effective tool used to double the retail price of a basic industrial chemical. This sensory paranoia turns outright absurd when we look at the fluid itself, dismantling the biological falsehoods of myth number 21. The stubborn, deeply internalized social doctrine that human sweat is inherently foul-smelling and that a truly clean, civilized person's perspiration should possess absolutely no natural odor whatsoever. We catch a whiff of dampness on our clothes and plunge into a state of acute sociological panic, treating our own biology as a personal moral failing. Let us look at the pristine reality of human secretions. Freshly generated sweat emerging from your eccrine glands is a completely pristine, odorless, and sterile solution consisting of 99% liquid water, trace salts, and basic minerals. It has no smell because it contains nothing for the nose to detect. The foul, rancid stench that we associate with poor hygiene is actually an entirely artificial phenomenon, manufactured by modern textile choices. When you wear synthetic, petroleum-based corporate clothing fibers like polyester, nylon, and acrylic, you create an airtight, hyper-humid plastic microclimate against your skin. These synthetic weaves are molecularly engineered to trap moisture and body heat, while providing a massive, non-absorbent surface area where specialized apocrine bacteria can multiply at an exponential rate. The stench you smell is not your body. It is the chemical byproduct of millions of microscopic organisms feasting on your skin cells and excreting pungent fatty acids within the synthetic fibers of your shirt. You do not possess a defective body. You are simply wearing a wearable incubator for bacterial decay, sold to you by the fast fashion industry. The exploitation of our internal anxieties reaches its pseudo-scientific peak when we step into the wellness spa to destroy myth number 22. The total cultural acceptance that you need to sweat heavily in specialized infrared saunas, steam rooms, or insulated plastic body wraps to physically flush out heavy metals, daily environmental poisons, and metabolic toxins from your skin cells. The modern wellness consumer pays exorbitant fees to sit in a boiling wooden box, watching the fluid pour from their limbs while imagining their internal organs being purified of industrial sludge. Let us consult basic human physiology. Your sweat glands are structurally engineered for one single solitary purpose: thermoregulation. They are heat release valves, not a filtration network. Over 99% of your body's internal waste clearance, heavy metal detoxification, and metabolic filtration is executed continuously by the sophisticated, unceasing architecture of your liver and your kidneys. The amount of toxic materials ever cleared through human perspiration is so microscopically minuscule as to be clinically irrelevant. When you force your body into a state of extreme, prolonged, and unnatural sweating through artificial environments, you are not purifying your tissues. You are simply inducing severe systemic dehydration, dangerously depleting your blood volume and precipitating critical electrolyte imbalances that can compromise your cardiovascular system, all to satisfy a manufactured corporate myth that equates a wet forehead with spiritual and physical purity. The material irony of this cleanliness routine becomes physically visible when we inspect our wardrobes to expose the chemical manipulations of myth number 23. The universal domestic belief that those ugly, stubborn yellow stains that slowly ruin the armpits of your favorite white shirts are caused purely by your body's acidic, toxic, or dirty sweat. You look at your ruined clothing, feel a wave of intense physical shame, and resolve to scrub yourself even harder in the next shower. Let us expose the true culprit behind this wardrobe destruction. Those yellow crusts are not a biological secretion. They are the direct result of an artificial chemical reaction taking place between the aluminium salts packed inside your antiperspirant and the basic proteins naturally present in your sweat. The very product you purchase at a premium price to keep yourself looking clean, crisp, and socially acceptable is the exact chemical agent that is permanently staining, discoloring, and rotting the fabrics of your clothing. The corporation has engineered a perfect closed loop of perpetual consumption. They sell you a paste to stop a natural fluid. The paste reacts with the fluid to destroy your shirt, and you are forced to return to the market to buy both a new stick of chemical paste and a new white shirt to replace the one their product just destroyed. Finally, we decode the ultimate hygienic disaster of the modern workplace, shattering the counterproductive logic of myth number 24, the widespread, desperate belief that reapplying fresh layers of deodorant or antiperspirant multiple times throughout a stressful day directly over old existing sweat will keep you fresh, crisp, and socially acceptable. You feel a wave of midday stress. Pull a plastic stick from your desk drawer and violently rub it over your damp underarms, believing you have reset your hygiene clock to 0. In the cold reality of microbiology, this act is a form of hygienic self-sabotage. When you layer fresh, sticky wax, synthetic polymers, and concentrated chemical perfumes directly over an existing layer of old sweat, skin cells, and proliferating bacteria, you do not sterilize the area. Instead, you create an airtight anaerobic laminate that seals the active bacterial colonies directly against your warm skin. The perfume merely provides a temporary olfactory mask, while the thick wax traps the microbes in a dark, oxygen-depleted vault, accelerating their metabolic decay and causing them to pump out foul fatty acids at an even higher velocity. Within minutes, the artificial fragrance fades, leaving you with an intensified, sour, and thoroughly trapped odor that is vastly more offensive than if you had simply wiped the area with a basic damp paper towel. We enter the razor-sharp theatre of personal grooming for Part 5, the shaving and hair removal deception, an unsparing analysis of a highly profitable landscape where basic human anatomy has been thoroughly pathologized by the industrial blade lobby. For over a century, shaving conglomerates have systematically manufactured physiological anxiety, convincing a naturally mammalian species that its own evolutionary coat is an inherently dirty, primitive defect, requiring daily mechanical removal. We begin our somatic audit by dismantling the grandfather of all grooming superstitions. Myth number 25. The absolute, cross-generational cultural dogma that shaving your hair makes it grow back significantly thicker, darker, and at a much faster rate. From high school locker rooms to modern beauty blogs, this warning is repeated like absolute biological law, terrifying teenagers into treating their razors like genetic modifiers. Let us look beneath the epidermal surface at the actual unchanging mechanics of hair biology. A strand of hair naturally tapers to a soft, flexible point as it grows. When you glide a steel razor across your skin, you do absolutely nothing to the deep, subcutaneous hair follicle where cellular division and genetic coloration are determined. You are merely performing a blunt mechanical decapitation at the surface level. By severing the hair at its widest point, you leave behind a flat, rigid, and blunt cross-section. As this blunt edge pushes past the skin line over the next 24 hours, it naturally feels stiffer, looks darker against the skin, and creates a pricklier texture. The corporation did not magically alter your DNA or accelerate your growth cycles. They merely sliced a cylinder in half, utilizing a basic trick of geometry to trick your senses and ensure you return to the bathroom mirror tomorrow morning to buy another blade. This structural manipulation turns outright predatory when we examine the tool rack itself to destroy myth number 26, the absolute commercial assurance that modern multi-blade razors featuring 5, 6, or 7 individual blades provide a healthier, safer, and vastly cleaner shave than old-school single blades. The televised advertisements feature sleek, hyper-stylized animations of silver blades gliding effortlessly across glowing virtual faces, promising that more steel equals a more civilized citizen. Let us look at the sinister engineering reality behind this corporate multi-blade arms race. These cartridges do not cut your hair cleanly. They utilize a brutal mechanical sequence known officially as the hysteresis effect. The first blade in the cartridge is purposely designed to be slightly dull. Its true function is not to cut the hair, but to hook into the shaft and violently tug it upward and out of its natural follicular socket. The subsequent second, third, and fourth blades then slice through the stretched hair shaft while it is unnaturally elevated. The moment the cartridge passes, the severed hair snaps violently back down below the natural surface level of your skin. This is not advanced hygiene, it is a mechanical trap. The trapped, jagged hair shaft is now buried deep within the dermis, where it loses its path forward, curls inward, and triggers painful ingrown hairs, agonizing pustules, and severe razor burn. The corporation has built a perfect machine of self-inflicted trauma, forcing you to continuously buy multi-blade cartridges that tear up your face, so you must subsequently buy their specialized, soothing lotions to repair the very carnage their blades manufactured. The chemical support systems of this routine are equally weaponized against our flesh, leading us straight into the chemical truths of myth number 27. The total acceptance that specialized pre-shave oils, synthetic shaving gels, and expensive aerosol foaming creams are medically necessary tools required to protect your skin during a shave. We fill our palms with fluffy white chemical foam, believing we are nourishing our skin with a rich, protective blanket. In the cold light of cosmetic chemistry, these aerosol cans are filled with cheap, industrial-grade soaps, aggressive propellants like isobutane, and high concentrations of synthetic fragrances. These harsh surfactants completely strip away your skin's natural lipid barrier, inducing acute surface dehydration and acting as primary chemical irritants. They do not lubricate the blade. They actively compromise your skin's structural integrity, ensuring that the razor causes maximum microscopic scraping. The corporation has engineered a beautiful economic synergy. The foam dries out your skin to make the shave more painful, forcing you to go back to the pharmacy aisle to purchase an expensive post-shave balm or recovery serum to soothe the very irritation the shaving cream actively delivered. This pharmaceutical misdirection expands from the vanity mirror down to the porcelain throne, bringing us to the plumbing and dermatological nightmare of myth number 28, the widespread consumer belief that flushable wet wipes are a vastly superior, highly hygienic, and modern alternative to standard toilet paper or basic water. The packaging displays pristine images of clear water and promises total, refreshing purity. Let us subject these convenient cloths to a dual review of municipal engineering and human pathology. First, let us state the absolute structural reality. Flushable wipes are not flushable, unlike traditional toilet paper, which is engineered to disintegrate into individual wood pulp fibers within seconds of hitting water. These wipes are woven together using synthetic plastic resins. They do not dissolve. They flow into your plumbing system intact, binding with grease, oils, and industrial waste to form massive, multi-ton subterranean blockades known as fatbergs that choke municipal sewer systems and cost cities millions of dollars to blast apart. But the biological damage to your own anatomy is far worse. To keep a wet piece of cloth sitting in a plastic dispenser for 2 years without growing toxic mold, manufacturers saturate these wipes with highly aggressive chemical preservatives, most notably methylisothiazolinone. When you rub these strong chemicals daily against your most delicate, highly absorbent mucous membranes, you do not achieve cleanliness. Instead, you systematically wipe away your natural lipid protection, trigger severe contact dermatitis, and induce chronic agonizing fissures that leave your local tissues utterly defenseless against bacterial infiltration. The corporate manufacturing of somatic shame reaches an even higher peak of biological absurdity when we examine the specialized hygiene aisle to dismantle myth number 29, the absolute cultural doctrine that you must use highly fragranced, gender-specific intimate washes to maintain proper cleanliness and prevent natural odors. The bottles feature elegant pastel designs and promise to balance your body while enveloping you in synthetic floral scents. Let us look at the profound evolutionary biology these washes actively disrupt. Your intimate anatomy is a self-regulating, highly advanced biological system governed by a precise, highly acidic pH balance. This acidic environment is maintained naturally by a delicate colony of beneficial bacteria known as lactobacilli, which produce lactic acid to create a natural defense grid that is completely toxic to harmful pathogens. When you flood this delicate zone with commercial washes packed with harsh detergents, synthetic perfumes, and pH-altering chemical buffers, you execute a catastrophic biological sabotage. You kill off the protective lactobacilli, strip away the acidic shield, and leave the tissue completely exposed. The devastating, ironic result is a rapid, hyper-accelerated overgrowth of harmful bacteria and fungi, directly triggering severe yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis, and the exact foul odors the product claimed it was formulated to eliminate, locking you into a permanent dependency on specialized medical washes to fix the recurring infections the soap itself creates. Finally, we decode the ultimate evolutionary subversion of the modern beauty industry by unmasking myth number 30, the total cultural consensus that going completely hairless via aggressive full-body waxing, lasering, or deep shaving represents the cleanest, most hygienic, and most advanced state for human anatomy. We subject ourselves to agonizing rituals of ripping and scraping, equating a completely bare, prepubescent, hairless state with civilized hygiene. Let us reintroduce basic evolutionary science to this cosmetic obsession. Your body and pubic hair did not evolve by accident. It serves as a critical, highly sophisticated physical defense network. It acts as a natural friction barrier that protects delicate skin folds from painful chafing, traps natural secretions to prevent tracking, and forms a dense physical mesh designed to deflect dirt, sweat, and pathogenic microbes away from your sensitive openings. When you aggressively strip this protective forest away through hot wax or steel razors, you do not achieve purity. You create thousands of microscopic tears, open microabrasions, and raw follicular wounds across your skin. You have quite literally stripped away your primary defense wall, turning your bare skin into an open, highly vulnerable gateway for viral and bacterial pathogens, drastically increasing your clinical susceptibility to staph infections, abscesses, and sexually transmitted diseases, proving that the modern obsession with a completely hairless body is not a triumph of hygiene, but a victory for a corporate marketing machine that profits from your self-inflicted vulnerability. We cross the threshold of the domestic sanctuary to enter the chemically saturated theatre of modern housekeeping for Part 6, The Clean Home Deception, a chilling audit of a highly profitable landscape where the chemical industrial complex has successfully pathologized the ordinary inert surfaces of your living space. The corporate architects of suburban panic have spent generations training the modern homeowner to view their own living rooms, laundry baskets, and indoor air currents as hostile zones of imminent contamination. We begin our domestic inspection by untangling the sticky chemical fabrications of myth number 31, the absolute cross-generational belief that commercial fabric softeners and liquid conditioners are essential, non-negotiable tools required to keep your clothing, linens, and bath towels hygienically clean, soft, and fresh. Every week, millions of consumers pour a thick cup of brightly colored, synthetically perfumed liquid into their washing machines, anticipating the fluffy, mountain-fresh results promised by smiling cartoon mascots. Let us strip away the advertising perfume to reveal the raw industrial chemistry taking place inside your washing machine drum. Fabric softeners do not clean your clothes, nor do they improve their structural integrity. Instead, they function by depositing a dense, uniform, and water-insoluble layer of synthetic silicone polymers and quaternary ammonium compounds directly over the individual textile fibers. You are quite literally laminating your wardrobe in a microscopic layer of liquid fat. When you subject your bath towels to this treatment, the greasy chemical coating permanently ruins the natural capillary action of the cotton fibers, rendering your towels functionally non-absorbent and incapable of drying your body efficiently. Far more disturbingly, this sticky, waterproof laminate acts as an inescapable molecular trap, sealing your body oils, dead skin cells, and proliferating bacteria deep within the weave of the cloth, ensuring they survive the rinse cycle to fester in a dark closet and create that stale, sour smell the moment the artificial perfume wears off. This industrial warfare against our biological environment reaches an even more dangerous peak when we step into the utility closet to dismantle. Myth number 32, the absolute commercial doctrine that your home surfaces, kitchen countertops, and floors must be aggressively sanitized with heavy bleach and chemical disinfectant sprays every single day to protect your family from disease. The televised advertisements feature microscopic graphics of entire domestic landscapes being sterilized into a pristine hospital-grade void, terrifying parents into believing that a single surviving household bacterium is a direct threat to their children's lives. Let us subject this sterile obsession to the cold, clinical realities of the hygiene hypothesis. Human beings did not evolve to exist within a vacuum. Our immune system is a highly advanced, adaptive learning network that requires constant, low-level exposure to ordinary environmental microbes to train its cellular defenses, calibrate its responses, and learn the difference between a genuine pathogen and a harmless piece of dust. When you execute an aggressive, daily scorched earth policy across your home, using harsh chlorine bleach and volatile quaternary disinfectants, you do not create a safer home. You create a biological vacuum that strips your family of vital immunological training. The devastating documented result of this domestic sterility is an unprecedented global explosion of chronic childhood allergies, severe eczema, and hyperreactive asthma, proving that your obsessive war against household dirt has merely trained your children's immune systems to turn inward and assault their own respiratory tissues. The chemical illusions of the laundry room deepen significantly when we look at the dials of the machine to destroy myth number 33. The total cultural assurance that washing your clothing at standard, energy-efficient low temperatures, specifically 30 to 40 degrees Celsius, using regular laundry detergent completely kills all dangerous fecal bacteria, viral pathogens, and microscopic parasites. The modern consumer adjusts the settings to a cool wash, believing they are saving the planet while achieving identical states of absolute hygiene. Let us examine the microscopic reality of the cold water wash cycle. A standard low-temperature wash with basic detergent possesses absolutely zero sanitizing capability. It functions purely as a mechanical mixer. When you place heavily contaminated items, such as underwear laden with trace amounts of E. coli or kitchen towels saturated with foodborne bacteria, into a lukewarm bath with standard suds, you do not sterilize the fabrics. Instead, you create a perfectly lukewarm bacterial soup that cross-contaminates your entire laundry load. The machine mechanically redistributes the living pathogens evenly across every single item in the drum, systematically transferring intestinal bacteria from your undergarments directly into the fibers of your pillowcases and tea towels. Unless you introduce high thermal energy, specifically 60 degrees Celsius or greater, or utilize an activated oxygen bleach compound, your modern energy-saving wash cycle is merely a highly efficient mechanism used to spread fecal contamination evenly throughout your entire wardrobe. This microbial cultivation becomes a rapid, automated crisis when we examine our domestic negligence, leading us straight into the dark, damp enclosures of myth number 34. The widespread, casual assumption that leaving your freshly washed laundry sitting inside the closed washing machine drum for a few hours after the cycle finishes is a completely harmless, mundane delay. We hear the chime of the machine, decide to finish a television program or run an afternoon errand, and leave the wet textiles sealed inside the metal vault, assuming they are perfectly safe because they were just cleaned. This is a profound miscalculation of microbial incubation kinetics. The internal environment of a modern washing machine is a dark, airtight, and hyperhumid cavern lined with residual soap scum and stagnant organic debris. The moment the spinning stops, this chamber transforms into an optimized, industrial-grade incubator. Airborne mold spores and resilient bacterial colonies like Pseudomonas, which survived the lukewarm wash, immediately lock onto the damp, vulnerable fabrics. In these ideal thermal conditions, these microscopic organisms multiply at an exponential rate, doubling their populations every 20 minutes. By leaving your clothes trapped in that humid metal tomb for just a few hours, you allow an invisible, highly resilient layer of mildew and bacterial biofilm to weave itself permanently into your clothing fibers, ensuring that the moment your body heat warms the fabric later in the week, your clothes will excrete a foul, sour, and unwashable odor born of hidden decomposition. The corporate manipulation of our sensory reality expands from our clothing directly into the very air we breathe, bringing us to the hazardous chemical deceptions of myth number 35, the absolute pharmaceutical guarantee that commercial air fresheners, plug-in scent diffusers, and aerosol room sprays actively clean, purify, and sanitize the microscopic particles floating in your indoor air supply. The packaging displays pristine alpine glaciers and fields of lavender, promising to eliminate odors and replace them with pure, healthy atmosphere. Let us expose the cynical chemical wizardry taking place inside these cans. Air fresheners do not clean the air, nor do they remove a single molecule of the odor-causing compound. Instead, they function by releasing high concentrations of nerve-deadening chemical agents and heavy synthetic musks that physically coat your nasal passages and temporarily anesthetize your olfactory receptors, quite literally blinding your sense of smell so you can no longer detect the underlying odor. Far worse, these devices flood your enclosed living spaces with a toxic cloud of volatile organic compounds, including formaldehyde, benzene, and synthetic phthalates. These hazardous chemical vapors settle deep within your lung tissue, severely disrupting your endocrine system and dramatically lowering your indoor air quality to levels that frequently mimic the toxic density of heavy industrial smog, proving that the corporation has successfully convinced you to poison your own respiratory system for the shallow illusion of a mountain breeze. Finally, we decode the ultimate trap of domestic overconsumption by unmasking the soapy over-medication of myth number 36, the stubborn, counterproductive consumer belief that using significantly more laundry detergent than the manufacturer recommends guarantees a vastly cleaner, more stain-free, and brighter wash cycle. We look at a heavily soiled load of grass-stained children's clothes, ignore the measuring cap, and aggressively pour a massive, unmetered torrent of thick blue gel into the dispenser, assuming that more soap always equals more cleanliness. This is a classic chemical trap engineered to drive rapid product depletion. Modern washing machines are engineered to operate with a precise, highly calculated ratio of water to detergent. When you overload the machine with excess soap, you generate an uncontrollable dense volume of suds that completely cushions the fabrics, preventing them from rubbing against each other and destroying the mechanical friction necessary to physically lift dirt from the weave. Far worse, the standard rinse cycles of modern machines lack the water volume required to wash away that massive excess of soap. The machine finishes its cycle and spins, leaving a thick, microscopic, and sticky residue of unrinsed detergent permanently embedded in the fabric fibers. This soapy film acts as a high-powered molecular magnet, actively drawing in environmental dirt, dead human skin cells, and fungal bacteria the moment you wear the clothes, ensuring your garments turn grey, stiff, and permanently dirty far faster than if you had used no soap at all. We arrive at the terminal station of our somatic audit for Part 7, the grand sterility illusion, the crowning psychological achievement of a consumer empire that has successfully weaponized the fear of the microscopic world to sever modern humanity from its own evolutionary bedrock. The corporate grid has achieved near-absolute compliance by transforming the ordinary biosphere into an existential threat, demanding that you purchase chemical vouchers to validate your right to exist in a biological universe. We open this final gallery of corporate fabrications by stepping into the highly pathologized architecture of the public convenience to dismantle myth number 37, the total, unquestioning reliance on paper toilet seat covers as highly effective, impenetrable medical shields that completely insulate your flesh from catching deadly diseases and viral infections. Every single day, millions of hypervigilant citizens execute a delicate, high-anxiety ballet in public stalls, meticulously unfolding a tissue-thin ring of porous paper to establish a protective barrier against the unseen horrors of the porcelain rim. Let us look at this comforting ritual through the lens of basic microbiology. The human skin is a highly sophisticated, multi-layered evolutionary armor specifically engineered to block the cellular infiltration of environmental pathogens. Unless you possess open, actively bleeding wounds upon your thighs, bacteria and viruses cannot simply migrate across your intact dermal envelope. Furthermore, the cheap, highly porous cellulose tissue used to manufacture these covers possesses a microscopic pore size that is a veritable highway for fluids and microbes. The paper absorbs moisture instantly, drawing any underlying surface pathogens directly upward to your skin via capillary action. The corporate paper lobby has not provided you with a medical shield. They have sold you a transparent psychological pacifier designed to soothe your sociological panic while generating billions in commercial paper waste. This illusion of pristine sanitation grows significantly more sinister when we leave the public stall and immerse ourselves in the relaxing waters of the leisure industry, exposing the hidden biological hazards of myth number 38, the absolute commercial assurance that public hot tubs, commercial jacuzzis, and luxury resort spa baths are perfectly sanitized, pristine environments optimized for physical detoxification and cellular recovery. We slip into the bubbling, steaming waters of a commercial basin, inhaling the sharp, reassuring scent of chemical chlorine while believing our bodies are being purified of modern impurities. Let us look beneath the frothing surface at the chaotic thermodynamic reality of the public jacuzzi. A hot tub is a highly specialized biological incubator. The combination of elevated water temperatures, intense mechanical turbulence, and a dense continuous influx of human organic matter, consisting of sweat, dead skin cells, cosmetic lotions, and trace bodily fluids, creates a highly hostile environment for chemical sanitizers. The heat causes chlorine and bromine to gas off and neutralize at a hyper-accelerated velocity, frequently rendering the water completely unprotected within minutes of a new bather's entry. This warm, turbulent, and organic matter-rich soup is the precise ecological niche favored by a highly resilient, opportunistic pathogen known as Pseudomonas aeruginosa. The churning jet's mechanics format these bacteria into an airborne mist, allowing you to inhale them deep into your lungs while the high heat forces your skin pores open, inviting the bacteria to colonize your hair follicles. You are not detoxifying your cells. You are stewing in a highly concentrated, corporate perfumed bacterial culture that systematically induces severe skin rashes, agonizing ear infections, and debilitating respiratory conditions. The domestic execution of this thermal purification is equally ruinous to our outer defenses, leading us directly into the dermatological disasters of myth number 39, the deeply rationalized doctrine that washing your face or body with scorching hot water is the most hygienic, effective way to deeply melt away stubborn sebum, open your pores, and slaughter lingering surface bacteria. We stand before the shower stream or bathroom sink, turning the handle to maximum heat and enduring a painful, skin-reddening scold out of a submissive belief that cleanliness must be forged in fire. Let us subject this thermal violence to the hard architecture of human skin biology. The outer protective layer of your epidermis, known as the stratum corneum, relies entirely on a delicate, highly organized matrix of essential sebaceous lipids, ceramides, and fatty acids to construct a solid moisture barrier. This lipid bilayer is your body's primary defense against environmental pathogens and moisture loss. When you blast your skin with scorching hot water, you do not gently cleanse it. You function as an industrial degreaser. The extreme heat quite literally melts and dissolves this vital lipid shield, stripping away your natural protection and causing severe, microscopic tearing across the epidermal surface. Your body reacts to this sudden, catastrophic structural drying by initiating an aggressive, hyperreactive inflammatory response. The sebaceous glands receive an emergency signal that the barrier has been breached, causing them to pump out a massive, unregulated wave of thick oil to compensate, while the heat-damaged skin cells flake off and block the pores. You have successfully transformed a routine wash into a primary catalyst for severe acne, chronic rosacea, and permanent barrier degradation. This mechanical transmission of pathology reaches its peak of cosmetic hypocrisy when we examine the specialized wellness salon. To destroy myth number 40, the absolute cross-generational belief that commercial beauty salons thoroughly sterilize, disinfect, and purify all specialized whirlpool foot baths between every single pedicure customer. The modern consumer sits back in a plush leather chair, relaxing as their feet soak in a swirling basin of warm water, completely pacified by the brief, performative spray of disinfectant executed by the technician. Let us reveal the untouchable biological strongholds hidden behind the plastic shrouds of those pedicure tubs. A modern whirlpool footbath relies on a complex subterranean network of internal pipes, pumps, and mesh filters to generate its soothing currents. During a standard pedicure, these hidden internal channels pull in gallons of water saturated with the previous client's sloughed dead skin cells, fungal spores, callus dust, and organic debris. This thick, protein-rich sludge settles permanently within the uncleanable internal pipework, creating an optimized, adhesive surface where bacteria construct a dense, impenetrable fortress known as a biofilm. Standard superficial liquid disinfectants poured into the basin between customers merely glide over the surface of this rubbery matrix, leaving the underlying pathogenic colonies completely untouched. When the jets are activated for your session, the mechanical force dislodges chunks of this bacterial biofilm, pumping thousands of microcolonies of dangerous Mycobacterium fortuitum directly into your warm water bath. These highly resilient organisms migrate through any microscopic nick or razor scratch on your legs, inducing deep, agonizing fungal ulcers and chronic bacterial infections that often require months of aggressive, systemic antibiotic therapy to resolve. The corporate weaponization of our modern lifestyle expands into the very clothing we choose to wear throughout our active days, bringing us to the synthetic traps of myth number 41, the absolute sociological acceptance that wearing tight, restrictive synthetic athletic apparel all day is perfectly hygienic and healthy because it features advanced, trademarked, moisture-wicking technology. We live our lives encased in tightly woven polyester, nylon, and elastane leggings and compression shirts, believing that these high-tech space-age fabrics are actively keeping our bodies pristine, dry, and clean during ordinary daily activities. In the cold light of human ecology, this attire represents a profound biological subversion. While synthetic fibers can mechanically push liquid water away from their surface, their tight, non-porous chemical structure completely traps volatile organic compounds, anaerobic sweat, sebum, and natural yeast secretions directly against your living skin for hours on end. By compressing these fluids against the warmth of your body, you convert your entire torso and groin into a high-humidity, oxygen-depleted industrial incubator. The natural, harmless fungal and bacterial populations of your skin are suddenly provided with a permanent tropical climate, triggering a hyper-accelerated population explosion. This synthetic confinement is the primary global cause of the modern epidemic of chronic tinea cruris, severe folliculitis, and systemic yeast overgrowths, proving that the athletic wear industry has successfully packaged a highly unhygienic, tight plastic microclimate as the ultimate symbol of a clean, health-conscious lifestyle. We reach the end of our dark journey through the modern bathroom cabinet to confront the ultimate ideological deception. Myth number 42, the total, defining historical illusion that modern humanity is vastly healthier, sturdier, and more resilient than any previous generation because we have successfully used industrial chemistry to sterilize our daily environment, slaughter the microbial world, and eliminate natural dirt from our existence. We look back at our ancestors with a sense of immense condescending pity, celebrating our pristine, chemical-scented survival. Let us look at the devastating, final balance sheet of this grand sterility illusion. In our obsessive, corporate-driven war against the microscopic world, we have broken the fundamental evolutionary contract that has sustained human life for millions of years. By dousing our skin in harsh detergents, blocking our sweat glands with heavy metals, stripping our scalps with industrial sulfates, and sanitizing our homes into a biological void, we have not achieved superior health. We have merely traded easily treatable, acute environmental dirt for a permanent global epidemic of lifelong autoimmune diseases, chronic metabolic disorders, severe depression, and hyperreactive inflammatory conditions. Our immune systems, left utterly bankrupt of environmental training, and missing their ancient microbial partners, have begun to malfunction, turning inward to violently assault our own tissues in a desperate search for an enemy that no longer exists. Meanwhile, our aggressive over-medication of the environment has systematically bred a terrifying new generation of highly mutated, completely drug-resistant superbugs that loom over our fragile, sterile civilization. The multi-billion-dollar hygiene industry did not save your life. They systematically traded your actual biological immunity for short-term corporate quarterly profits, leaving modern humanity structurally fragile, chemically dependent, and completely exposed within a sparkling, synthetic, and thoroughly toxic illusion of cleanliness.